stuck in my head. Most people who overthink already know they are doing it. That is often the most frustrating part. The thoughts keep going even when there is nothing new to add. The same questions circle, the same conversations replay, the same outcomes are imagined again and again. It feels repetitive, unproductive, and exhausting. There is often an edge of irritation that comes with it, a quiet anger at oneself for still being here with this, for not being able to switch it off. Being stuck in your head does not feel reflective or insightful. It feels noisy. It feels tight. It can feel like being trapped behind your own eyes, watching the same mental loop play out while the rest of you stays braced, waiting for it to end. People rarely arrive here looking for understanding. They arrive because they are tired. Overthinking persists, not because it is helpful, but because it feels necessary. The mind keeps moving because stopping feels unsafe. When something underneath is unresolved or exposed, thought becomes a way of staying busy enough not to feel it directly. Thinking creates motion, and motion can feel safer than stillness when stillness feels like exposure. This is why telling someone to stop overthinking rarely works. The mind is not spinning for entertainment, it is working. It is trying to manage something that does not yet feel manageable. Thought gives shape to uncertainty. It breaks the unformed into parts, words, possibilities. Even when those parts repeat, the act of thinking creates the sense that something is being held together. Many people recognize this pattern most clearly at night. Lying in bed, the body tired, the room quiet, the mind suddenly louder than it was all day. A single sentence from earlier reappears, a message not sent, a conversation imagined and reimagined. The body is still, but inside there is pacing, shoulders tense, jaw tightens, breath becomes shallow without being noticed. The mind runs because the rest of the system is no longer distracted enough to keep what it carries at bay. We live in a culture that encourages this, planning, anticipating, analysing, preparing. These are praised as responsibility and care. Within that landscape, overthinking easily disguises itself as diligence. It feels like staying on top of things. But beneath the activity there is often something simpler and more human. The mind is trying to create stability where none is felt. For many people, this pattern formed early, not as a habit, but as a response, in environments where emotions were unpredictable, overwhelming, or ignored. Thinking became a way to stay oriented. If you could read the room, anticipate reactions, rehearse conversations in advance, you could reduce risk. Thought became a shelter, a place to stand when other forms of safety were unreliable. Seen this way, being stuck in your head is not a defect. It is a trace of care. The mind learned to stay alert because alertness once mattered. That history deserves recognition because without it, frustration turns inward. People blame themselves for something that was once adaptive. But strategies that protect us at one time can quietly exhaust us later. Overthinking reaches its limit, not because it is wrong, but because it is being asked to do more than it can. Thought is very good at organizing information. It is far less capable of carrying emotional weight. There are experiences that do not resolve through clarity. They do not end when the right explanation is found. They remain because they are not problems to be solved, but conditions to be lived with. Uncertainty, absence, fear without a clear object, longing without guarantee. These sit in the body before they ever take shape as thoughts. This is often where people notice a mismatch. The mind is busy, but the body is tight. The thinking is fast, but the chest feels heavy. The head keeps going, but the rest of the system feels braced. This is not a failure of thinking. It is the body signaling that what is being carried cannot be processed in thought alone. Most people already know this, even if they have never named it. They notice that overthinking intensifies when they are tired, hungry, overstimulated, or alone for too long. They notice that it softens briefly when they step outside, when their feet meet the ground, when they exhale without trying to fix anything. They notice that talking out loud changes the shape of the thoughts, even before anything is resolved. These are not techniques, they are recognitions of how the body participates in regulation. Beneath overthinking, there is often something quieter than thought, a sensation rather than a story, a weight behind the sternum, a flutter low in the stomach, a sense of being on edge without knowing why. Thinking moves quickly because staying with these sensations feels risky. Thought creates distance. It keeps the system occupied. Avoidance here is not cowardice, it is care. But when what is being avoided remains unacknowledged, the mind compensates by staying active. It fills space so that something else does not have to arrive. Overthinking is not excess, it is substitution. Within the ghost movement, the mind is not treated as an enemy to be silenced. It is treated as a signal. Thinking is allowed, including looping and repetition, not because it is ideal, but because fighting it increases tension. When the mind is opposed, it tightens. When it is understood, it often loosens on its own. This is not about forcing stillness or dropping into feeling. It is about recognizing that the body is already involved. People often notice that when they stop arguing with the thoughts, something else becomes apparent. The breath deepens slightly. The shoulders drop a fraction. The jaw unclenches without instruction. These are small shifts, but they matter. They are signs that the system no longer believes it has to hold everything in the head. There is an important boundary here. Understanding overthinking does not mean staying trapped in it. Some experiences exceed what self-reflection can hold. Some patterns are rooted in prolonged absence of safety, deep fear, or repeated overwhelm. In those cases, the mind does not simply spin, it traps. The system narrows, and the person carries more than one nervous system was meant to carry alone. This is where widening the field becomes essential. Many people already know at a bodily level that things feel lighter when someone else is present, when words are spoken aloud rather than rehearsed silently, when another nervous system offers steadiness. Professional support exists because some weights need structured, relational holding. This is not a failure of insight, it is an extension of care. Change often does not arrive when thinking stops, but when thinking is no longer mistaken for the whole story, when it is seen as one response among others, when the body is allowed back into the conversation. At that point, the loops often slow, not because answers have been found, but because the system no longer believes it must manage everything alone. Being stuck in your head is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that something is asking to be held more safely. The body already knows how to do part of this. It shows it in breath, posture, tension, and release. Listening to those signals does not mean abandoning thought. It means letting thought rest where it has reached its limit. Overthinking is trying to protect something. The task is not to silence it, but to recognize what it is guarding and widen what holds it. That widening may already be familiar to you in moments you barely noticed, in the body settling when you stop pushing, in the relief of being heard, in the quiet that arrives not because the mind has won, but because it no longer has to carry everything by itself.